You're watching Scriptease. In today's episode, we'll be breaking down the climactic scene from In Bruges. You can expect mature language, graphic imagery, and spoilers for the entire film. The climactic scene of a film is its highest point, the point at which the tension and excitement are at their greatest. It's where all the little details pay off in an intense finale, where the protagonist attempts to prove themselves and where the dramatic question is finally answered. Now that's a lot to live up to, and an unsatisfying climax can ruin the whole film. In Bruges nails the climax on every front. Written by McDonagh, In Bruges is about two hitmen, Ray and Ken, who are hiding out after Ray accidentally killed a child during his first hit. Ray spends his time moping around Bruges, battling his suicidal tendencies over the guilt he feels. When Ken is ordered by their boss Harry to kill Ray, he defies the order, believing that Ray can make amends for his wrongdoings. Harry heads to Bruges to punish Ken and Ray, believing that Ray's actions, even though accidental, are irredeemable. All of this is played through a darkly comic lens, and the friendship and respect between Ray and Ken, despite their odd couple differences, gets the viewer fully invested in their well-being. With Harry now en route to kill Ray and Ken, the stage is set for the film's climax. We'll join in just after Harry and Ken have had their powwow, where Ken has stood his ground on letting Ray loose. Harry, subdued by the sincerity of Ken's words and mutual respect, decides not to kill him, but shoots him in the leg instead. If not for the unfortunate coincidence that follows, that might have been the end of it all. But unbeknownst to Ken, Ray has returned to Bruges and has just been spotted by one of Harry's associates, Eric. This leads to a small moment of dramatic irony and suspense. As the audience, we feel our stomachs fall as Eric sprints for the bell tower. In the final film, this moment is underscored by a tense piece of music. But in the script, the importance of this moment is conveyed by focusing on what is, at first, an insignificant moment. Eric remembers his keys or something, and heads back the way he came. We follow him all the way. Specifically mentioning that we follow him is a cue that we're leading up to a crucial moment. We're choosing to linger with Eric rather than cutting to when he sees Ray and Chloe. In other words, we're letting the suspense build. This same effect is achieved by the little back and forth between Harry and Eric in the bell tower stairwell. At any other time, this dialogue would seem needlessly drawn out, but in this spot, it gets the audience to clench their teeth a little longer, because we know this doesn't end well for Ken. Only then does the tension break. In a flash, Harry and Ken pull their guns and try to point them at each other. The action text here serves two purposes: logic and emotion. Firstly, in an action sequence like this, it's incredibly important that the audience fully understands the logistics of the action unfolding in front of them. This first block of text is concerned with the mechanics of the situation. The second block of text keeps the struggle interesting by focusing on the emotions of the combatants. McDonagh uses simile and repetition here to drive the point home. It's like some slow, deathly arm wrestling match. Slowly, slowly, slowly. The regret Harry feels in this moment is supported both by the action text and the dialogue. Ken crying a tear, Harry almost.
I'm sorry, Ken.
In this next section, Harry races down the stairs to kill Ray, while Ken climbs to the top of the bell tower to warn him. This is the lead up to Ken's death scene, and so the action gets more intense, cutting between our three main characters who are all in different locations. To keep the action clear, McDonagh uses capitalized and underlined text to distinguish between sublocations in the bell tower, the stairwell and the lookout room. Usually you'd put sublocations in the scene heading, but I much prefer this. When you're reading a script, you have a tendency to skim over scene headings. But putting the sublocations in like this makes them unmissable, once again stressing the importance of keeping action clear. With the logistics made clear, the rest of the text can focus on the emotion of the moment. We cut between Ray and Chloe in love, the stakes of the situation, and Ken who, despite pouring blood and weak as hell, is using his last moments to save them. I love how the fog here not only sets the atmosphere and foreshadows the snow later on, but it also plays a purpose in the plot, obscuring Ken's vision and forcing him to find another way to warn Ray. The more value you can milk out of each aspect of your story, the more compact and satisfying it will be for the audience. As Ken resolves to throw himself off the bell tower, we cut more and more quickly between the three characters, with scene headings every 3 or so lines at one point, ramping the tension up. Even as Ken is dropping the coins, the audience is putting together what he's about to do, and that realization brings with it even more suspense. In the script, it's made very obvious. The coins hit the ground heavily, warning the passers-by to give the tower an even wider berth. Even in this desperate situation, Ken shows that he's still a good person. He still doesn't want to harm anyone else. And then he lets himself fall, and crashes to the ground in a hideous broken heap. What I'm about to explain is only really possible to understand by watching the movie itself, but the way Ken's death is played out somehow seamlessly fits the film's genre. The film is a dark dramedy, and this moment captures all three ideas. The death itself is shockingly brutal, Ken's body described as such. Ken's head, chest, and shoulders have just about survived the impact. Everything else is pulp. The description is ludicrous, capturing that darkly comic aspect of the film, but the following scene where Ken has his last words with Ray is played completely straight. Despite the ridiculousness of Ray speaking to his half-splattered friend, the emotions are sincere, portrayed brilliantly in the film by Colin Farrell, and with one of the best acted deaths I've ever seen by Brendan Gleeson. Ken's final line once again encapsulates the tone of the film.
I'm gonna die now.
It's almost offhand or casual given the gravity of the situation. When you see it done right, you forget how easy it would be to stuff up this moment and have the audience laughing at how stupid it all is. Even at this dark moment, the script provides some levity. This line of action text sounds almost like it was written by Harry himself. Harry sees Ken's pulped corpse, realizes what's gone down. He acknowledges, somehow, Ken's sense of honor, courage, what have you. You don't want to weigh your script down with language like this, but the occasional line keeps the script reader engaged and adds charm to an otherwise utilitarian writing format. Once again, McDonagh uses the formatting of the page to signal an approaching intense scene, using single isolated lines of action text and ellipses as Ray and Harry meet eyes before the final action sequence begins. The chase sequence here isn't formatted how one might expect. Typically, a chase sequence will take up a lot more space, covering each specific beat of the chase and using lots of blank lines, so that the number of pages it takes up approximates how many minutes of on-screen time it would take. McDonagh instead uses this line to convey the same idea. Long chase sequence. It may seem blunt, but In Bruges is hardly an action film. This chase sequence isn't meant to be some grand set piece, so its place in the script is consigned to the bottom quarter of a page. There's knowing convention, and there's knowing when convention isn't appropriate for your story. I mean seriously, who wants to read through a page-and-a-half long scene of Harry turns a corner and takes a shot, but he misses, Ray ducks down an alley, etc, etc. It's just needless padding. The way McDonagh's done it, we get to the good stuff faster. Like this next part, where Ray and Harry are at a standoff in the hotel. I love this moment, it breaks up the tension of the climax with a bit of the humour we've come to expect from the film. Firstly, Ray's past trauma with the child prevents him from taking the shot on Harry, which is demonstrated with a tastefully included camera shot in the script. Ray's POV. Along the barrel of the gun, he has a clear shot of Harry, but it's just above Marie's pregnant belly. In a different film, failing to take the shot here would be a weakness, but we understand that Ray holding back here demonstrates his maturity, his resolve to never harm another innocent person. Harry too holds to his principles here.
Well, obviously I'm not going to go through you, am I, with your baby and that?
This leads to the comically awkward situation in which the two, mid-chase, have to negotiate a situation that saves Marie.
Why don't you both put your guns down? Go home.
Don't be stupid. This is the shootout.
Using the shootout here instead of a shootout breaks the fourth wall a little bit, but it isn't too jarring considering the humour throughout the film. A recurring motif throughout the film is other worlds, whether that be dreams or purgatory. As Ken says in the pivotal scene when Harry asks him to kill Ray,
I know I'm awake, but I feel like I'm in a dream.
Throughout this final sequence, the magical quality of Bruges takes on a heightened quality. First we had the fog rolling in, and now, after Ray gets shot by Harry, it's beginning to snow. Now of course this has an aesthetic appeal, but it also signals that Ray and Harry are advancing towards death, towards the next world. This is reinforced by the film set, made to resemble the painting from earlier in the film. Ray slowly staggers into the middle of the misty set. All the extras are dressed in strange, nightmarish masked costumes, many frighteningly similar to the demons, and those terrorized by them, in Bosch's Last Judgment. Even if you're not reading the script, the film makes this comparison clear with Jimmy's line earlier.
The psycho dwarf turns out to just be a lovable little schoolboy, and it's also kind of Boschian nightmare.
My point is, McDonagh goes to great lengths to set this scene just right, devoting huge chunks of action text to the description alone. That's because this moment is Ray's Last Judgment. Equally important, once again, is the logistics, making clear everyone's position so that the final twist makes complete sense. Jimmy the dwarf gets up to see what all the fuss is about. Harry finally arrives a few feet behind Ray. Ray suddenly stops in his tracks, staring at something in front of him, horrified. Harry fires twice through Ray's back. Ray then slumps to the ground, revealing to us, and to Harry, the body of Jimmy the dwarf. He's obviously dead. He looks just like a little dead boy. I've abridged this whole section, but you can see how painstakingly McDonagh describes this moment to make it completely clear what's happened, to drive home the irony of it. And of course, showing that Harry thinks he's killed a little boy is essential to the end of the film, as he stays true to his word and kills himself.
Ken, if I had killed a little kid, accidentally or otherwise, I wouldn't have thought twice. I'd have killed myself on the fucking spot.
You've got to stick to your principles.
I love that Harry is on one hand a man who has strong values and delivers on his values with action, yet purely due to his pessimistic outlook and his abrasive personality, he's the clear antagonist of the film. He's not inhuman, it's just...
Well, he's a bit of,
Cock.
yes, he's a bit of a cock.
Harry has made his judgment. He's decided that people who kill innocent children deserve to be punished. But that leaves the question very much still open for Ray. As he's wheeled away to the ambulance, he sees all the people we've come to know throughout the film interspersed with the horrifying Bosch figures, all of them still judging him. The ending is very much left open for the audience to make their own judgment, to come up with their own answer to the dramatic question, does someone who has grievously sinned deserve a chance at redemption? This climactic sequence of In Bruges delivers on every front. It addresses the dramatic question, it maintains the tone of the film, and it ties up each character's arc. Perhaps more impressively than all of that, the climax makes the film into a cohesive whole by paying off numerous setups from the first two acts. Marie's pregnancy, Jimmy being a dwarf, Harry's assertion that he would kill himself on the spot, Eric's personal grudge against Ray, and the imagery of Bosch's last judgment. Don't skimp on your climactic scene. It's the moment that will embed in the audience's mind long after they've finished viewing your story. Good writing and good luck.